My name is Chloe Halpenny, for those who don't know me, and I'm a member of the BIYC, or the Basic Income Youth Collective. You may have known or heard of us as BICYN, or the Basic Income Canada Youth Network, which we were up until just over a year ago, and we still trip up on the name, so no worries. But it's really nice to be back at an OBIN meeting. Was the youth liaison for a while, and nice to see so many familiar faces and so many people who I have unanswered emails from and think about constantly. But that's just the nature of life these days, unfortunately. Um, yeah, I don't have a super formal presentation. Thank you for that, Will. Appreciate that. Website is in the chat. But yeah, did just want to share a couple sort of current, recent, and upcoming highlights on our end, and share a little bit more about what we've been up to, and kind of where we're at these days as a group. So we've had quite a few changes in the past year, to slightly over a year. As I mentioned, we sort of rebranded or reconvened a little bit from BICYN to BIYC last year. After sort of thinking more about how we wanted our name, and sort of how we worked as a group to reflect some of our values, and how we work together. We had co-chairs, myself and Kendall David, who many of you will also know. Until that time, Kendall and I were really burnt out, and quite frankly, wanted a more non-hierarchical way to sort of organize as a collective, and that was what we were doing in a lot of ways already anyways. So we made that change. We shortly after recruited some incredible new members late in the summer, early in the fall, which our recruitment process has always been something that takes a lot of time and energy, because we work together really closely as a small group of folks, and we meet bi-weekly for several hours and work on projects together. So spend a lot of time and thought on how we recruit folks, but ended up with some really, really great new members who bring some new perspectives and insights to our team, which has been great, and some less burnt out, new, fresh energy, which is always really appreciated. So that these things have shifted, and I think we'll continue to shift how we work, what we do, what types of projects we're working on, and also responding to the political context, which feels, of course, really, really different from when we got started in 2020, which others have mentioned. So what this has meant, at least for the past little bit, is taking on projects that still feel strategic and intentional, but also energizing for our team, and exciting, and interesting on that personal level as well. We've been really leaning into more creative and arts-based work, turning towards thinking about public education, not instead of, but maybe moving more in the direction rather than formal or direct advocacy, although we're still doing that as well. And really kind of continuing to think about how we're framing our work within the broader context of economic justice and anti-poverty, which is that has felt like what's worked with us and what's resonated with a lot of the young folks that we're engaging with. So we've been really thinking about how to introduce and educate folks, especially young people, about basic income in a time when it's not sort of on everyone's minds, or on a lot of people's minds, in the same way that it was in 2020, 2021. So yeah, a couple recent, current, upcoming highlights, and I'm definitely missing many things, but we'll share some. We've actually got 6 of our 8 team members in Ottawa right now, which is really exciting. It doesn't happen very often or ever, because we're participating in, so I'm stealing your thunder here a bit, Mandy, I think, but I won't say more, but we're participating in a very exciting Lobby Day event on Tuesday that we're really excited about. And actually today, our team is at the Parkdale Food Center, which is a local community food center in Ottawa. They do a Right to Food Day every year, and they're very on board with basic income and have invited us to come table. So we're excited to do that. So a couple of fun in-person things happening right now. More recently, around the federal election, we had our election campaign, which we called Can't Afford Conservative Cuts. I will send a link, internally referred to as Poop Poop Poilievre, but that was not how we framed it externally, of course. And in that, we we were trying to talk about basic income, but again, sort of contextualizing it more broadly within federal income supports and taking a bit of a different approach to talk about the additional income supports besides the basic income that already exist that we were concerned were at risk of being cut or lost within the campaign. More recently, and this will be ongoing for the next little while, we sent letters off to all 343 MPs shortly before the House sat again for the fall, and are trying to think about ways to sort of marry that federal advocacy with public engagement. So sending letters to MPs and then talking about that on social media in a way that is engaging people in that conversation, even if they're not the ones that are doing that engagement directly. Continuing to lean into social media. I have finally given up and realized that I just need to learn how to make TikToks, because I really think we need to be on TikTok, and we all think we need to be on TikTok, but the learning curve to how to edit and do that has been challenging, but we're leading into that, continuing to try to boost our social media presence and public engagement activities. Like we had a webinar series with the Canadian Association for Social Workers earlier this year, participated in a youth webinar with Basic Income Waterloo. Like Will mentioned, a couple of team members have been recording. I have some guests on some podcasts recently, but have also been really leaning into the physical media side of things, which has been new for us. Many of you will know a couple of years ago, we published a zine about the Ontario Basic Income pilot called Room to Dream. And in the couple of years since then, we've been busy making more zines. We've been working on zines based around the Case for Basic Income series that was led by Coalition Canada. So we've got little Basic Income 101 ones, Basic Income Case for Child Welfare. We've got a food security one, which will be at the Right to Food Day today, and are working on, this has been a project that's been long in the making, but we'll have sometime in the next couple of months, when we finally get it together, a zine exploring the relationship between queer issues and queer communities and basic income, which we're very excited about. So those are some highlights. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry to everyone who is waiting for an email response from me, and excited to hear what everyone's up to. Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Everybody, I wonder if I can share my screen. I have a PowerPoint.
I've got you covered, Mandy.
You got me covered? Okay, so if you could, all right, I want to thank you very much for including Coalition Canada in this update. It's very nice to be here. It's wonderful to see friends and fellow advocates, and I look forward to telling you a little bit about what Coalition Canada has been doing. I'm sure you're all aware that Coalition Canada Basic Income Revenue de Base is made up of volunteers, volunteer members that represent organizations, but also are individuals who live in all of the provinces and territories of Canada, with the exception right now of the Northwest Territories. I see you're trying to. Should I just pause or continue?
You're good to go.
Okay, yeah. People can't really see the screen. So Coalition Canada has been involved in a lot of different things this past year. And hopefully you'll be able to see that on the PowerPoint. I can't actually see the slides, Will. So individual members, of course, have participated in provincial advocacy work. They've collaborated with provincial and regional organizations to implement big advances. There's some interesting and important advances that have taken place in provinces like Quebec, Newfoundland, Labrador, PEI, and in the territory of the Yukon very recently. And we've tried to amplify and support those initiatives whenever possible. Individual members have also been very active, as OBIN members have been, in helping to pass municipal resolutions and motions. And the full list of resolutions can be found on the Basic Income Nova Scotia website, and you can see that we've been quite successful in that regard. Coalition Canada has also developed and updated cases for basic income in collaboration with the Basic Income Youth Collective. Thank you so much, Chloe, and your colleagues for that. Right now, the case for basic income and post-secondary education is being developed, and the case for basic income and health is being revised. We've worked on developing advocacy tools, for example, letters that can be sent out to MPs, MLAs, MPPs, and advice on how to present those letters and modify them to make them more effective. We've updated our FAQ document. We've developed a talking points document that can be used in meeting with various levels of government. We've supported Senate and House bills through calls to senators and through letters to senators. And importantly, we have worked towards the understanding and implementation of the PEI project. In collaboration with the PEI Working Group for a Livable Income and the Basic Income Youth Collective, as Chloe mentioned previously, we participated in the PEI Act Big conference this past June, presenting some of the work that's being done in PEI. We have met with all levels of government, for example, most recently with the Atlantic Liberal MP caucus to discuss the PEI project and engender support for it. We developed a pre-budget submission for FINA. Shout out to Will, who was really important in developing that submission. And importantly, it was supported by many organizations, including OBIN, thanks, Carrie mentioned that before, and all of the national organizations, Basic Income Youth Collective, BICN, and UBI Works. And as Chloe mentioned, and no, you didn't steal my thunder, Chloe, I'm glad that you talked about it. We are working to bring more understanding and support for the PEI Working Group and the implementation of the PEI project in Ottawa. This coming week, October 7th and 8th, we're going to be lobbying. We've identified or we've secured meetings with 20 MPs and I think 9 senators with the help of MP Sean Casey, former MP Wayne Easter, and Senator Kim Pate. And importantly, again, I want to highlight the involvement and support and activities of the Basic Income Youth Collective. In fact, it was Kendall David who initiated the idea of having this lobby day, these lobby days in Ottawa. So that's going to take place October 7th and 8th. And finally, I wanted to mention that we have developed an e-petition to encourage MPs, members of the House, to support the PEI project. support the working group and through the working group, the implementation of the PEI project, and through that, support for the development of a national big. Here's a QR code if anybody would like to access the e-petition and sign it. We would really appreciate it. And if you could also share as broadly as possible, we would appreciate that as well. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope it was useful to you.
Thank you so much, Mandy. That was excellent and lots of great work going on with Coalition. And we all wish you success next week with all of the interviews set up. That's just amazing.
And I thank you, Carrie, for this. I always like to really appreciate so many people who are doing so much work, but in the interest of time, I'm going to try to be really brief, and I'm even going to cut down some of what I plan to say. But Carrie has notes that she can share with people who are interested. So and I ad lib a lot, which runs time terrible. But anyway, as Chloe has talked about their evolution, we've had a major evolution at BICN, and we now have a new official purpose that's grounded in human rights. And there are a couple of reasons we did that that are in the notes that I won't talk about, but it is significantly different. And it was done with the help of a lawyer to make sure that we actually did things right, so that that when we look at charitable status, we're kind of in the right ballpark. No guarantees that it'll work. The way charitable law works is really strange in Canada. It dates back to the 1600s, hasn't progressed much. I also want to just very quickly talk about the fact that we have key policy goals that guide everything that we do, and that is reflected in our finance brief. If it's on our website under briefs, if anybody wants to go and look that up, but quite simply, there are three things. One is the evolution of existing programs towards a basic income guarantee. So that means things that are providing greater adequacy, less conditionality, and greater equality and more streamlining in the system. There are a lot of organizations putting out income recommendations now, and we don't think we need more little bits of things here, there, and everywhere. We're working to try to combine these things. Second is the national framework that everybody supports. Not just in the bill, but in recognition of the fact that this framework approach is what is the foundation for Canada Child Benefits and the new disability benefit. So it's really important in terms of the history we have. The third is support for and learning from the innovation and developments that are happening everywhere, including by provinces and territories. Mandy has mentioned those, but also what has still coming out of the OBIT project in Ontario that we can't forget. And I see some new things coming out, even from our American counterparts who are talking about the importance of that, and the CERB experience. So we want the federal government to learn from all of this to move forward. We have a strategic plan to guide us for the foreseeable future. There are 5 key directions. 1 and 2, because we're a national organization, and that's cool that we all have different spheres of work, I think, because it all matters. 1 and 2 are focused on income security policy leaders, both in government and in civil society. We're investigating a significant multi-year project on this, so stay tuned. Our third direction is public education and communications. And this is moving from the big forum that was held last year to turn that temporary website into essentially a resource hub with all kinds of information. We've been working with Tracy and her colleagues. to get that up and running, and we've made significant progress. We're hoping that we're only like 2 or 3 weeks away from really being able to launch that new conversion. So we're really excited about that. It also has a feature that will help gain signatures for the consensus statement. 4 is providing strategy, research, policy advice, and we've been involved in several things with that. We work with CCPA on their alternative federal budget. We've been having conversations with Oxfam Canada that's developing a basic income policy, which is cool. We've been involved with Generation Squeeze on a very specific policy proposal they're working on to rejig the way seniors benefits are done so that it frees up resources for younger generations. And then 5 is about strengthening organizational capacity, like fundraising, which we all know, is an issue. So really recent updates. Again, what does my time look like quickly? We've had meetings with federal politicians, aided in some cases by our GASP colleagues. Karen, if you're there, you can wave. We're working on more to come. We've had very constructive meetings with senior officials in ESDC. We've had some rather disappointing news from other colleagues who have met with Minister Haidu that indicate we have kind of a long learning curve with her, unfortunately. And as Carrie mentioned, we've been working with United Church and a number of colleagues with Toronto. Toronto is like the worst of a province in federal government. I can meet with MPs far more easily than getting city councillors. It's crazy. But we have a real ally now within the city, and she's really helping move things along for us. So, and Josephine is involved in this too. So we really have our fingers crossed that we can get this done and get it done while Olivia is still mayor before we get into the next election period. A number of faith groups we're working with in the Toronto area. And we're also, and this is important for the immediate future, we're part of a multi-group cooperation related to the October 17th activities around the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. If you register or watch for our newsletter coming out soon, we will have all of the materials related to this activity that have come out of all of these different organizations, spearheaded by Leila Sarangi at Campaign 2000 and Family Services Toronto. So there are lots of ways for people to be involved. There will be an October 17th day. There's also an event related to that, October 17th, but a little bit later in the week, being held by Disability Without Poverty, and I will be part of that. There are also, Josephine and others are involved in activities for the second only Amazing World Summit on Social Development. I was part of the Canadian federal government negotiating team for the first summit in 1995, yes. And Josephine was an official UN observer for Canada at that. So we both had official roles at that conference. And it's quite sad to think that we are now looking at the Second World Social Development Summit at a period of time where, similarly to there, we're expecting, it was a surprise in 1995 when the Paul Martin budget came down that was so devastating and so austere. And now we know that the next federal budget, which will be released at the same time as the summit is held in Qatar, will also likely be not very focused on our human rights and more focused on austerity. So I'll leave it there. We have lots of work to do, but we're all in great company. Thank you.
I know we're a bit over time, but does anybody have any questions for either Sheila or Mandy? Even for Chloe, we could get answers to you if you had specific questions for the Youth Collaborative or Collective. I don't see. Oh, Katerina? Yes.
Yes, so this question is for Sheila. You said that there's like a national framework and that the disability benefit and the child benefit are part of that framework. But I'm really disappointed in the disability benefit because I thought it was supposed to be like a basic income for for people that are disabled, and instead it's sort of turned into like $200 a month, and there's conditions attached to it. So is it really in line with our national framework?
Well, the disability people believe it is. It's everybody is totally dismayed, I think is a mild word, for how awful this whole thing has turned out in terms of the level of benefit, in terms of the complexity of having to, jump through all of these hoops to apply. But it is a federal, provincial, territorial framework, and that's what they wanted, and they believe that is the foot in the door, and that's the start.
Oh, okay. So it's more of like how it's working with the
Yeah.
feds and the
And it
provinces,
was, and
not the kind of like our basic, like this is what we believe a basic income should be.
right. And
Okay,
exactly the
thank you.
same thing happened with child benefits in the late 1990s. There was a new framework for addressing child poverty that came about that was the result of a federal, provincial, territorial agreement. The benefits started out pretty miserly, and over the years, it's become like really significant and really entrenched in policy and in the positive public view. And some of our colleagues are arguing now again for another increase for the low income portion of the child benefit. So it's it's a way of working.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sheila. We have a hand up from Karen. Karen?
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I have failed to keep you informed of the things that are happening with gas. The Grandmothers Act to Save the Planet is a group of 181 people centered in Halton region. We recently did a webinar with Kim Pate and Nigon Sinclair, which Carrie, I will send to you and you can distribute to the group. It's an hour and 10 minutes long. For any of you who met Nigon last year, in Ottawa. He's a very passionate advocate and also a very nice guy. So I will send that to you. We have a small group working on basic income, and GASP works on many things. The environment, they're currently demonstrating for Palestine every week. So we're sort of a multifunctional group, but I chair the basic income group, and we're planning another webinar in January. We're going to try and get Jay-Z, that fabulous researcher from British Columbia, to talk about her payments to homeless people. So, Carrie, I will remember from now on to keep you on my list. Sorry
Please.
about that.
No, please, that's really, really important because this is organizations working
Yeah.
together to spread the word. And, we're all volunteers, so the more we could share and synergize, the better. So thank you for that. Stephen has his hand up. Oh, you're on mute if you want to unmute.
There we are.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carrie. This is my first time. I'm new to the OBIN, and it's my first annual general meeting. So thank you for all of you who have taken a leadership role as part of the ongoing communication, and it's excellent. I'm so impressed by the wealth of networks and partnerships and collaboration that goes on this issue. So that's very encouraging. I would suggest to Sheila that when she thinks about the upcoming budget, that we not talk about austerity, but we talk about the other side of the government's agenda, which is investment. And we really need to frame basic income as an investment in so many ways, in terms of what the giving people that basic income actually does to improve their health, their welfare, their ability to participate, their ability to access housing, so many things. So it really has to be seen as an investment and should not be seen as part of an austerity budget. So that's important. Second thing I'd just like to say, I would be very interested in the work that the Youth Collective is doing on the two-spirit LGBTQ plus agenda and the link to basic income. The church I'm affiliated with is an affirming church. We're very supportive of that community, and I think if we can outline the case that for them in terms of basic income, that's something that I'd be very interested in facilitating. And third and final, besides the broader approaches to MPs and senators, the Liberals are having their national convention in Montreal in April, and they have an open policy process. And I'm just wondering, and I've been in touch with my own electoral district, it's a fairly complicated exercise to try and get a resolution in front of the party's national convention. So I'm just wondering if others might be engaged in such an effort at that sort of party level as opposed to the government level. So
Yeah.
that's a question for the group, I guess. But thank you very much. This has been stimulating, encouraging, and very positive. Thank you.
Carrie, can I just respond really quickly? Like
Sure,
two
please.
seconds. Thank you, Stephen, for the question. Our finance brief is cast very much in an investment and a One Canada approach kind of, of the moment sort of thing. Thank you for that. And there are members on our board who are fairly closely connected to the Liberal Party and people who have run, who really are looking at working towards the national convention. So there is work being done there too, but it's a great idea to influence that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to add that, as Will noted in the chat, the Liberal Party convention has come forward with basic income recommendations multiple years, and while our organization and other national organizations don't try to align themselves with any particular party specifically, individual members definitely do oftentimes participate in these conventions. So both at the federal and provincial levels, and can be quite impactful in that way. So I would encourage you, Stephen, if that's something you're interested in, to do it.
Awesome. Thank you. Craig, you have your hand up.
Hi, thanks, Carrie. Just following up on the initiatives at Toronto, I might have mentioned this before, but I haven't got much follow-up. I spoke with Councillor Paula Fletcher about getting the motion, some kind of motion at City Council. She came to my mom's Governor General Award ceremony. And then I also spoke to her partner, John Cartwright, who's the former Toronto District Labour Council executive director. He's retired recently. Both of them said that they would do everything they could to support a motion at the council. And they recommended that you, sounds like you already have contact, but I just wanted to share what they said. They said it had to go through Councillor Bravo's committee. And we all know the history there. She ran against Julie Zirovich and but she also sits on the Toronto Arts Council. Bravo does. So we have Toronto Arts Council, as you know, is one of our biggest supporters for basic income and the arts. So that's another way we can work with Bravo. If you want, I'm more than happy to do introductions for you, Sheila, or whoever your Toronto team is, to the Toronto Arts Council, to Councillor Fletcher. And I also run into Mayor Chow once a year, old family friend. So I'm happy to help with that in any way. Mayor Chow, when my mom passed away, came to her celebration of life. And Mayor Chow also wrote a city council passed a motion for my mom in support of my mom's working. in the arts in Toronto. So if there's anything I can do to open up doors for you, please reach out on those things and I'd be happy to help. I don't know if I can carry the ball on those, but I'm happy to do the introductions.
Thank you so much, Craig. I will call you. Bravo is getting a hold of her is just like it almost feels like she's avoiding us.
Well, she probably is, to be honest, because I think her position is historically, she's come around a bit, so I think there's movement there, as many skeptics have come around. But what I can do is maybe if we go through the Toronto Arts Council, I don't know Bravo, but what I was thinking was through the Toronto Arts Council, maybe we can get to her as well. But Paula Fletcher, who's a very, very close family friend, has been counselor since 2003 for Danforth.
Yeah.
And so she's been there a really long time. And she might be able to get you a meeting with Bravo. I don't know, but that's what she told me. When I talked to her about getting a motion at Toronto, she said, go through Bravo, but she might be able to open a door there. Now, John Cartwright is retired. He's a basic income supporter, but certainly any support at the Toronto District Labor Council will go a long way to move that Economic and Community Development Committee that Bravo chairs.
Super.
Greg.
This is fabulous. And there's a new person who's heading up now the Social Planning Council of Toronto, who sounds really interesting. And that might be like, come at this from all these different directions. Fabulous. Thank you so much. I have 1 minute before I turn into a pumpkin.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, actually, I think that's all the questions I see. Obviously, I'm way over, and some of that's my problem too. But it goes back to how critical this is. My learning, one sec, Mandy. My learning from this is it's critical to have the national movement here for these meetings. It's one thing to share our business, but it's also important to look for these synergies and how we're working with the national movements and what are the other agencies we should be involved in. So I know we're way over. Still 20 people are here out of the 24 that started. So I think that's pretty awesome. Really valuable points. So I'll turn it over to Mandy and then we'll end our call.
Yes, I was just noticing that there was a question about any support that is available to approach municipalities, and I wanted to highlight that the Atlantic Provinces Basic Income Now group and Basic Income Nova Scotia have collaborated on developing a toolkit to work with municipalities. It's somewhat specific to the Atlantic region, but if you can just give me a second, I can put the link up and people can access the toolkit.
Well, thanks, Mandy. We also have a very extensive toolkit for Ontario, and all of this information was shared with Toronto. And again, that comes through the work of Will, through the work of Lorraine in Ottawa. So thank you for sharing that too, Mandy. All resources help. Now, even though I said, oh, we're almost done, I see poor Katie is up there. So hop on in, Katie.
So sorry. I'm so used to Teams, I could not remember how to put my hand up on Zoom. So I'm sorry about that. Hi, everybody. My name's Katie Woodcroft. I work with Huronia Transition Homes in Simcoe County. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar because I'm very new to this role. I've been working with Huronia Transition Homes on their Violence Against Women Coordinating Committee for all of Simcoe County, but just 2 weeks ago started in as their big coordinator. So I'm very new to all of this, but it's very exciting. I absolutely love everything I heard today. I was trying to take down as many notes as I could because there's such great information and such wonderful work being done. So I just wanted to introduce myself to say hi. I'm new to Big and I would love to connect with any and all of you. Right now, our project is fun. We have a grant from Wage that is working on developing a big network in North Simcoe. It's specifically exploring how a big can help prevent violence against women, exploring the intersections of violence against women and poverty. So thank you so much for having me today. And yes, I'd love to connect. So thank you.
Excellent, Katie.
Have a
Make
great
sure
Saturday.
you put your phone number, email in
Yes,
the chat.
thank you.
We did post the story a while ago about what was going on in Simcoe, so we'll look forward
Great.
to the outcomes of that. So look at how great. I thought going into this, oh, people are going to be so disappointed. We don't have another panel. I think we're low on the outcomes, but I am feeling renewed energy by being with all of you today. And I thank you for staying on the call. And again, using your morning on a beautiful day to be with us. So again, thank you. And thank you to all of the C team for participating and preparing. So enjoy your day now and enjoy your Thanksgiving. Okay?